Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm joined by regular co-host, Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben. How are you?
Andy Conduit Turner. I'm good. How are you? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. You've been living in a house trapping missionaries this week?
No, I haven't, and I'd never do that because not many doors in my house. I feel like one door, two doors, three doors at most would be the most doors you had to go through until you're as far as you can go. This film doors aplenty, like
Yeah.
too many doors, a never-ending stream of doors. It felt a bit like a horror game, didn't it, in a way, where you're
Yeah.
just like in this labyrinth of. We won't spoil it at this stage, of course, but if you've clicked on the podcast episode, you know we're talking about Heretic with Mr. Hugh Grant in the, I guess, titular role, right?
Yeah, in the heretic role.
Answer me this. When you watch this film, were the trailers before the film all for films that definitely weren't horror, but were more directed at who would be fans of Hugh Grant?
No, I don't remember. I remember thinking that the films that were being advertised were completely unsuitable for the film we're about to watch.
See, there you go. That's what happened with me. So they showed like the trailer for Bridget Jones, whatever the new one's called, with Hugh Grant in it. A couple of like rel not religious, sorry, a couple of like romantic-ish movies. A couple that might be like kind of thrillers as well. But yeah, I was like, what's going on here? Who are they trying to appease?
No,
Fans of Hugh Grant.
I think it was even stranger. I think we got like Paddington 3. I
Well,
guess
yeah,
he is in that. He is
he
in
is
that one,
in
isn't he?
that,
He's in the
yeah.
second one.
But still,
So
you're not sitting there going, I bloody love Hugh Grant. I'm desperate to see him in no matter what. Whether he's going up against a teddy bear. Is he evil in that? Is he a villain in that?
I think he's a baddie in Paddington too, but
They typecast him, right?
obviously the scale of things, like he's going to be more naughty than he is truly like wicked.
Do you think this film was written with him in mind, or do you feel like they wrote the film and then they went, who can we get to be in it? And then Hugh Grant was. It feels like quite a left field decision because
Yeah,
he's not been in anything that's even slightly horror before, is he?
no, not that I'm aware of. I think he did work very well. I mean, we'll talk about it, I guess, but
Yeah.
I think performance-wise, a lot of like Mike Flanagan energy, the big sort of dialogue-heavy performances, the almost like a lot of good like oration and the delivery of like a point, particularly at one point around the halfway point of this film, where like he has like a really well crafted speech put together.
He loves a bloody speech, mate. He's got this well prepared. Some recognizable faces in it as well. Sophie Thatcher, who was in The Boogeyman, I think,
I
fairly
know I looked
recently.
that up and I was like, I had no recollection of anyone from that film
She's like
apart from
the lead in
yeah,
that. And then Chloe East, who I don't necessarily recommend recognize her,
True
but she was
Blood.
in True Blood. Is that right? Yeah. So as a little girl in True Blood, and then she was in that film, The Wolf of Snow Hollow, which I think I quite enjoyed back in 2020.
I liked The Wolf of Snow Hollow a lot. Yeah,
The sort of horror comedy about a werewolf.
it's
Um,
not a werewolf. That's what the man always says. It's the policeman, isn't it? Everyone
oh
thinks
yeah,
there's a
it's that dude.
werewolf.
Yeah, it's like playing the same character from
Yeah,
Jim
it's really
Cameron's
good.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay, so this week you've just got back from Thought Bubble, the fourth or the fifth year in a row you've gone to Thought Bubble, and the first time in a few years that I've not attended, but you and Mr. Luke Condor with a K did attend, and you had a jolly good time, didn't you?
We had a lovely time seeing lots of comic friends. Picked up lots of horror books to read,
Oh,
amongst
horror
other
books.
things. Previous guest John Lee's his book The Nasty is now on, the trade paperback of that is out. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so I have that to read. I picked up mostly sort of horror and horror related books, so I will be
Hmm.
working through those and I'll post some reviews as I work through them. I haven't had a chance to read any yet because I got in at 3 this morning and have been recovering since.
You got it free this morning as well.
Yeah, it took me a long time to
Oh,
drive
bloody
back.
hell,
I
man.
had to, because I wanted to get back before it get too cold and icy. So I thought, right, I'll leave in the night time. And then
I will leave in
in the night,
midwinter.
yeah, I left in the dead of night in the winter. And then as it was getting colder, and then I was just getting a bit tired. And I thought, right, do the safe thing. Don't want to face the real life horrors of falling asleep at the wheel. So even though it was going to make me later, I pulled up and slammed a
Pulled up
Red
and
Bull
I,
and had a little extra power nap, which meant a late arrival home.
oh wow. Well, I'm glad you arrived safe.
I did.
But you did some interviews as well, didn't you,
I
at the old Thought
did.
Bubble in the form of how we would at Fright Fest. I think we discussed this before, didn't we, about getting some interviews when we go to Thought Bubble next, and obviously because I didn't attend this year, but you went ahead and got some, which is pretty cool. So
Yeah,
I
I went
guess
out there and got a couple. So a couple of little interesting pieces. I mean, we could have done more, but I think we'll get a nice little bonus episode out of it. So I
yeah, a little
spoke
bonus
with
is
the
lovely.
team who, the Dead Northern folks. They sponsor a stage at Thought Bubble because it is another local pop culture event.
So
So
what was that what was the stage like this year?
similar setup to as you saw it last year. So it's in like an additional room, and they do the cosplay competition there. They have actual like
Oh,
lighting
did
and
you enter?
rigging. And they have
You didn't enter this time.
no, no, I didn't enter unless I guess as a horror character now. I could have dressed as you and gone. It's Ben
Oh
Harrington,
my
our
God.
Hangout podcast.
Would you have done? Would you have braved the buzz cut? Would you have braved the
We'd have to do that when we go together, and then I could give you the hair I cut off, and you could
Oh
go as
yeah.
me.
That'd be good. That wouldn't be humiliating at all. Just
So,
horrible cuttings of hair, just like super glued to my head.
um,
People love making that joke. I mean, I appreciate you making it, but the amount of times someone goes, "I'm going for an haircut," and you go, "Oh yeah," and they look at you, and you can see their little cogs working. They go, "I could give you the cuttings, and you could have a little, you could have an hairstyle of your own." And I go, "Shut up, get
I
out
hate
of
you.
it."
No.
If I wanted that, I'd break into a hairdresser's in the dead of night, and I'd steal them at the bin.
Come out looking like Johnny Bravo. Um,
Exactly.
so So yeah, I met those guys and like they put that stage together. They did the cosplay competition. They do a lot of other events. They do some panels, and even though it's in quite a loud area, they've got the equipment to be able to have like headphones, like a silent disco, so the audience could be in like a really active area of the con
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
still listen along. But was chatting to them about their events. I talked to them about some of their favorite films from Dead Northern this year, their fifth anniversary, a couple of early thoughts on what's going to be going on in the future. They got more to come up there.
Mm.
So they're going to come and join us for an episode in the coming weeks, hopefully,
Yes, that's a good
and
idea. So
get it straight from the Oss's mouth, shall we? Find out a little bit more about it. But they're very nice guys. So I'm looking forward to that.
sweet.
And then I met with some other horror creators that were selling horror related products over there. So some folks working on sort of tabletop and book based adventure games.
Cool.
Some folks working on comics and everything like that as well. So lovely couple of little chats about the state of horror in the world of comics, and we will plug
Amazing.
that in and send it across
We
to
will,
everyone for a little bite-sized episode.
yeah, we'll put together like a little bite-size Thought Bubble 2024 bonus episode and put that out. That's awesome. Interested to find out more from the guys at Dead Northern. We're kind of just putting together our thoughts and plans for December 2024. We've got some thoughts surrounding surrounding the show. But if you've got a suggestion for a festive themed horror you want us to cover, we've been looking possibly at Christmas Evil because that's a slasher that we haven't covered yet.
Yeah.
Obviously, we did Silent Night, Deadly Night last year. I don't
No
know if
Christmas
there's many.
conversation is complete without a mention of Jack Frost. We've been talking about that. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Not Michael Keaton, remember?
Of
Always say
course,
that.
the horrible one, not
Make
the
sure.
nice one.
The horrible one. Michael Keaton is the horrible one. Uh, but Michael Keaton one's pretty horrible when you think about it. My dad
Yeah,
is a he's
he was a bad dad, too busy being in a band.
too busy being in a band wearing a fedora. Did he wear a fedora? I feel like in my head
Probably
he's got a
dead now
fedora
though.
on.
I'll teach him.
Dead now. That'll teach him. There you go. Um,
Um,
and in
yeah,
terms of new releases, Nosferatu is coming out, but we don't get it in the UK until the 1st of January, I think. So
yeah.
I
So we
hate it
have to
when that
wait a little
happens
bit
because it's
longer.
like, is that a 2024 film? Is that a 2025 film? Can I put it in my list of my favorite films from 2024? I don't know. Crazy.
It's a dangerous game. But that you having
Very
said that, Ben,
dangerous.
the one things that we can guarantee as we get towards the end of the year is, of course, we'll be looking for those end of year mainstays. films of the year episode that'll probably come as the year turns, making sure we get every single film out of 2024 first
Yeah,
before we commit to our top tens. And then, of course, naturally, it's been a year. How time flies. See, those
yeah.
quiz champions are going to be for this year.
Quiz champions. Yeah. What was the quiz last year?
It was yourself, Aaron, and Kev.
Oh yeah, of course. I cannot believe that was a year ago. That is crazy. So yeah, we're gonna try and work out how we're gonna do this. Whether we put together a dream team to take on me and Luke, um,
Yeah,
or
is
I mean,
is it?
how are you feeling about writing yet another quiz?
I'm happy with that, Ben. I'll be writing a quiz. I think I'm writing the Christmas,
Quizmas.
bloody hell. Writing the Christmas quiz for the pub next week, so I'll be there
Oh,
doing
you are.
that.
So you
Yeah.
can you steal some of the questions from that?
Oh, that'll be Christmas themed, not horror themed. But I'll
Okay. Oh, that's a shame.
I can come up with. I mean, I'm gonna have to draw some more lovely pictures. I still keep meaning to send these over to Kev. I've got my wonderful picture round
Oh
from
yeah.
last year.
What time to be
It's
alive? That was
filtering it out again, so I need to put it next to my face.
too good.
You know that one, don't
That's
you, Ben?
Midsummer.
That's Midsummer. See, easy.
Easy, too easy.
See if you remember. Do you remember this one?
Too bloody easy. That is Puppet Master.
That is the Puppet Master. I mean, at this point, it is memory, so
I'll tell
much
you
as
what,
it
we've
is
not done
using my
Puppet
drawing
Master either on the
skills.
show, have we?
Yeah, we get Puppet Master on.
Yeah,
Puppet Master. I'm writing it down on a piece of paper. It's official now. One
it's
more.
official. One more. That is Frankenhooker.
That is Frankenhooker.
Yeah,
I
again,
feel like you've done all but one of them now. Yeah, I'll complete the set.
complete the set. I can get them all. Uh, Hills Have Eyes?
Hills of Ice.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say the Wicker Man. I kind of remembered how I got them wrong last time, so that's good. At least my brain's working enough to remember at least a year ago.
See that
Um,
little warm up, Ben? You'll be fine. So I know you're always out there. Whenever we meet someone for a period of more than 5 minutes, you challenge them to a quiz. So who's going to come and? No need to answer. I know you haven't confirmed, but we'll find out who's
we'll
going to
find
challenge
out.
you.
We were talking about putting together a dream team. I think that might be a good idea. So perhaps two people who have been regular mainstays on the show in the last 12 months teaming up to take on me and Luke. Well, let's not divulge any further.
Yeah, we'll keep it a secret. If all the stars align,
We'll keep it secret. I hope the
yeah,
stars
we won't
align.
say anything. But you know what, Ben? I think if it is the two people we were discussing, I think
Yeah,
you're up against it. I think this year.
I'm always confident, mate. I'm never not confident because um I got I got you on my
The
side.
Lord on your side.
I'm not, but when I say I've got you on my side, I don't mean I don't mean I've paid you off.
No,
I just
I
feel
would
like
never.
you're going to be drawing from a lot of things that we've both seen, which
Yeah.
is kind of
So
nice.
you've got that to try and rely upon.
Yeah, unless you
Some
go
very
freaking it.
knowledgeable guests out there.
There are exactly. And I'm fine to be beaten. I don't take it personally when I get beaten. I will contest it to the day I die, but I don't take it personally. Um,
So all
uh,
that to look forward to. Anything else in the news? Any corporate synergies we need to be talking
all of
about?
that
Any
to look forward to.
releases?
So, not tons in the news this week, but a couple of things I wanted to mention that I don't think we've mentioned. Now, tell me if we have mentioned this already. Have we mentioned the film Werewolves? Stephen C. Miller, starring Frank Grillo. It's coming out on December the 6th, but I don't know when we're getting a UK release. I don't know if we discussed it on the show. It looks kind of like an action thriller with werewolves. And I think the director, who is Stephen C. Miller, put out something online where he's like, "What shall I make my next film on? Shall it be a slasher, zombies, or werewolves?" And I think a lot of people responded, including people like James Gunn, and they were like, "Gotta be werewolves because, we've seen a million iterations of other things, and werewolves, if you get it right, you can get it really right." So, werewolves. Have you seen the trailer for that?
I've not seen the trailer. I've seen a couple of stills, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna go see it.
Looks
So
pretty good. It looks like it's got quite a high budget, as well. Other werewolf things though. Neil Marshall did give fans a quite a disappointing update this week about the Dog Soldiers sequel. Apparently, it's not happening. He's been trying to make it happen. The working title was Dog Soldiers 2: Underdogs, but for numerous reasons, they can't seem to get the wheels in motion to get a Dog Soldiers 2 sequel made. That doesn't mean there won't be one ever. I think, perhaps sometime in the future that could happen. The reaction to these things when fans sort of voice their disappointment, you know, some sort of crowdfunder could come into fruition. That's what I've been thinking by following this story. But he has announced that he will be working on a new vampire movie though. Sorry, werewolf movie. Getting me ghoulies mixed up there.
Yeah.
Um, working on a new werewolf movie, a new werewolf property, um, which is called what's it called? The Werewolves of London.
The
So,
Werewolves of London.
so like the gangs of London, but with werewolves. I don't know. Yeah, maybe something like that. Um, so yeah, he's still obviously very. Well, there's a tagline: "Grow your
In that horror
hair,
space.
grow your hair, can't howl at the moon, devour human flesh, shan't the things we do for love." Maybe a love story. A love
Oh, there you
story.
go.
There's a picture of a full moon behind Big Ben, this sort of like promotional image or concept image as well. Yeah, I think Neil Marshall's been at his best when he's making sort of these kind of films, Dog Soldiers and The Descent. So I think going back to one of his old properties, why not? Let's let's
Yeah.
let's get it let's get it happen. And maybe we'll bump into him at Fright Fest again next year, and we can quiz him even further if we haven't got any more
How it's
information.
coming along. That'd be good.
How it's coming along. Give us a Dog Soldier. I mean, a Dog Soldier sequel is perfect, isn't it? Really, just get some soldiers in a different place, the same place. I don't know. Can't remember how it ended, but
Maybe it's difficult with the title. Maybe it wouldn't be soldiers, and then obviously the name doesn't work. If it's going to be in the same place.
dog retail workers,
Dog people.
dog car wash attendants.
Dog scouts.
Dog
What's
Scouts. See, I like that. That's very nice, isn't it? Um, okay. Other piece of news. There's a documentary about Alfred Hitchcock coming out. I like a bloody documentary, mate.
I know.
Influential film, and the reason I thought I'd mention this is because after we saw the Christopher Lee documentary at Fright Fest, which I think is available on maybe something like Sky
Sky
Art.
Arts. Yeah, Sky
Yeah.
Arts.
So apparently this is narrated by Alfred Hitchcock himself. Now, that would make me think it's a similar situation where Peter Serafinowicz is doing the voice. Maybe not. Maybe not him again. Maybe someone similar. Or it could be using dreaded AI to work out how he sounds and work it out. Did you see that video recently where is it James the Third? What famous king is it? And they said this is how he would have sounded all those years ago. Have you heard it?
What did he sound like? No, 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 I'm the king. Is that what he sounded like?
Sounds like Martin Mucklow. Sounds proper West Country. Here, I'm the bloody king, mate, and I was over there making a squash, and I bolted out the door like a feral pig. And in the comments, people were saying, "Oh, it sounds like Yorkshire." It's like, open your ears. It's Martin Mucklow. And
Get the taters out your
I
ears,
scrolled
lads.
for probably about 45 seconds, and I found a comment that said, "Sounds like Martin Mucklow," and I said, "My type of person. Well done." Um,
All the bloody gear and no idea.
he's got all the gear and no idea. So I'll tell you what though, I would watch My Name is Alfred Hitchcock if it was narrated by Martin Mucklow and not Alfred Hitchcock, because I'm fine with someone else talking. Who's your favorite like narration voice? I know like Morgan Freeman's like a bit of an obvious answer, isn't it? I think like Bill Nye is someone who is doing a lot of stuff lately, and every time his voice pops up, I go, oh yeah, here we go again.
Um, Brian Blessed is
Brian
who I
Blessed.
want.
That could be a bit
Booming,
off-putting though. You know
booming
what I mean?
voice. That's what I want.
You want
An,
off-putting?
an off-putting voice.
I want to find
Uh,
out about Alfred Hitchcock, and he's just screaming,
um,
"Gordon
yeah,
alive!"
just get any
Any Tom,
gentle
Dick, and
voice.
Harry.
Put
Oh wait,
what's the
here we
name?
go. I've got the information right
Philomena
in front.
Kunk. She can do
Oh,
the
that
do
would
the
be good.
voice.
I've got the information right in front of me. Silly me. It's voiced by famous British impressionist. Who is it?
Peter Serafinowicz,
No, Alistair McGowan, the only other one.
Alistair McGowan.
Alistair McGowan. He's still getting work. It's still
He
out there,
is
still
being
getting
Alfred
work.
Hitchcock.
He's gone. Maybe I can't have a primetime BBC sketch show anymore, but I will have a thing where I'm doing Alfred Hitchcock. Okay.
Sure, the phone jacker
Um,
do it. That'd have been lovely.
Interesting because we enjoyed Christopher Lee, didn't we? Christopher Lee
Yeah,
documentary.
Christopher, I think it was a brilliant documentary.
Yeah, on our Fright Fest episode, we interviewed the filmmaker as well, so go and check that out. But yeah, I love a documentary. So my name is Alfred Hitchcock. I'll be all over that. It's being released on Blu-ray and DVD, January the 14th, and I guess on digital elsewhere around about that time.
Around the same
I mean,
time.
talking of releases as well, the Blair Witch Project restoration and with the documentary and all the other stuff that we discussed with Phil recently is out now from Second Sight Pictures. That's out, and they've just got a restock as well because initially it sold out, but now it's back. Guess what, Andy?
Back again.
I'm trying to get me grubby little paws on it for
Oh yeah.
Christmas. I've put it on the old Christmas list, and I've
I'll
sent it
see if
out.
Santa will bring you one.
I've sent it out to Santa himself, and I've said, "Listen, Santa, if it ain't too much hassle, could you get could you get your old chum Ben
Your old chum Ben.
a lovely Blair Witch Project?" I saw some screenshots on Twitter, like saying this is what it looked like originally, and this is what it looks like now. Unbelievable, ridiculous. Like, where I'm like, there aren't even enough pixels in the original image to make that new sexy image. This is insane. So yeah, looking
While
forward
you talking
to
about upcoming releases, Ben, I got a cheeky bit of news for you. We'll add it to that little list. Um,
cheeky cheeky.
One of my favorites from recent years, How to Kill Monsters, is coming out US cinemas and
Yeah,
streaming
did see
December
that.
6th.
December the 6th.
December 6th. Remember the 6th of
Sixth.
December. Go and see this bloody film.
Remember the date. I've just forgotten. I
Yeah.
can't remember. Sixth
It's the
of
bloody
the
king telling us it's the 5th of November for so long. Yeah, remember the 6th of December, everybody,
yeah.
because that very excellent film that
The
I
bloody
enjoyed a lot and
king.
we've been going on about for like a year. Um,
And Book of Monsters was shown on was it NYX TV like
yeah,
recently as well, wasn't it? Which
yeah,
is
it
decent.
got some screenings on there as well. So hopefully,
Mm.
um, I think I exchanged a couple of messages with Stuart a couple of months back now, and the physical release is on its way soon as well. So
Oh, lovely. How
cinemas
exciting.
in some territories and streaming very, very soon, just a couple of weeks, and
Mm-hmm.
then you'll be able to pick up some copies. I'm sure there'll be more news of that soon.
Mm. Lovely stuff. Okay, and I mean that's it for news. Anything that you've watched in the last 7 days? I know you've been at Fault Bubble, maybe you've not had time. Have you seen anything horror adjacent that's
I
worth
got just
mentioning?
one thing for you, Ben. Just
Just
one
one
thing in
singular
the last
item.
week.
Okay.
I have got round to watching VHS Beyond. Do.
That's the
Yeah, VHS
official.
Beyond is what I got to watch.
Yes.
It's good.
Did you have a favorite segment?
Oh, did I have a favorite segment? If you asked me this just when I'd first seen it, I definitely came away saying, yeah, it was that one. But now my brain is befuddled because I'm a
The
little
Alana
sleep
Pierce one,
deprived.
the one at the end with the spaceships
Oh,
and
she goes up in space and has the nanobites. Yeah, I liked that one. That was
nanobites.
good.
What about the skydive into a
The
cornfield?
skydive one might be my favorite. That was really
Yeah,
well
that one.
done. That was really well put together.
Yeah. Obviously they had more of a sci-fi edge, didn't they? All of them.
Yeah. The
Uh,
POV, like the sort of police vigilantes that take out
yeah, that was the
supernatural
first one,
threats was
wasn't it?
good
Yeah.
as well. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, that was good.
overall it was strong. In many ways, I feel that my main criticism of this is that it's maybe a little bit more polished than I would expect from the series, and I
Okay.
wonder if by finding its feet, maybe it's lost a little bit of its heart because there are some big names attached to a lot of these, right? I know there is a Kate Siegel directed one. There is a Justin Long.
Yeah.
Um,
Mike Flanagan maybe wrote one of them, is that right?
yeah, so
That's fine.
a lot of big names in horror, which has given us, I would say, perhaps from a content point of view, one of the most consistent and best put together entries in this series.
Hmm.
Absolutely. But in the same way that I have a little sideways glance when you see huge, huge names in comics and other things like
Hmm.
that on the Kickstarters, looking up these,
Keanu
what
Reeves.
was more, yeah, what was more, a little bit more independent, a little bit more separated, a little bit more of a name that you might not see being given these types of shot, and people who then you see go from their first thing being a segment in a VHS movie to being well-known names a couple of years later.
Hmm.
Um, it felt a lot like it was a lot of very well established names already.
Yeah.
Nothing against the work. They all, I think, all of them. There wasn't necessarily a bit of that film or a section that I thought, not so good. I liked all of them, but you know, just a little comment on there. A lot of very, very established names who I already think are really well attuned to horror, and we see from big studios already.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. But your favorite segment? What's your talking of favorite segments? What's your favorite segment of the chocolate orange? There's only one answer, really.
The core, the bit at the end.
Yeah, the core. What's all that about?
When you get in the core, what a
Preferably,
time.
preferably a segment that's attached to the core. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
Then
you've got a core and a segment. Yeah, that's the best one.
yeah. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Uh,
skydiving segment probably my favorite, followed by maybe the Bollywood one with the robots.
oh yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Um,
those are my favorites probably.
didn't really see anything horror related this week. I don't know why. Um, one of those weeks, I guess. Watched a couple of documentaries. I watched Music by John Williams, which I guess is horror adjacent because you talk about the creation of the theme for Jules and how
Hmm.
much he loves it. He loves keeping it simple, doesn't he? He goes like, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it, Steven Spielberg. I'll do the music for your next film." It's just two notes, unfortunately. Steven Spielberg has gone, "Hang on a minute. That seems like cutting corners there." And little did he know, it probably would become the most iconic piece of music in any film, not just horror movies. But yeah, that's really fascinating. I think
Hmm.
if you like any of Steven Spielberg's cinema, you'll enjoy this. And yeah, it's just a very nice. Did I talk about the Superman Christopher Reeve documentary last week as well? I feel like
I'm sure you did.
I
Tell us anyway.
did. But yeah,
Superman's worth
this
repeating.
was also very good. Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, personal story of courage and hope despite seemingly insurmountable odds. And you know, if you're a fan of Superman movies or a fan of Christopher Reeve, you know sort of how his life panned out after his accident. So yeah, but yeah, honestly, a really well made documentary, really fascinatingly put together and paced, and sort of it goes back and forth between before the accident, after the accident. And a lot of the charity work that he did afterwards as well, and yeah, I mean, it's just fascinating, really. You could see how you can go from being a very healthy, able-bodied person to literally 1 second later being what quadriplegic he was. They were
Yeah,
saying 1 inch to the left, you'd be dead. 1 inch to the right, he would have been absolutely fine. It was literally like just bang in the middle of
yeah,
of those two things, and it just happened that made him completely, disabled for the remainder of his life. But yeah, he was obviously in the Rear Window remake as well, where he was disabled, playing the lead character in that. One of his final screen appearances, the 1998 movie. I don't think I've ever seen it though. Have you ever seen that?
no, I wasn't aware of it. I might have to check that out.
Yeah, so pretty interesting for that. But yeah, definitely check either of those out. I guess they got a little bit of link between them because we do get a bit of John Williams doing the old Superman theme as well. Um, so yeah, but that's it. Apart from
Other than that, just the only horror experience then was this week then, right? The film of the week, which is of
film of the week,
course
this is what it was all centered
Heretic.
around. I didn't need to watch any other horror because I knew I was having a lovely cinema trip to watch Heretic with Mr. Hugh Grant in the titular role with some lovely specs and what else? Lovely
Big House.
big lovely big house made of wood, doors. When I said about the doors, I was looking at the comments on Letterboxd and someone went, "Bloody hell, Door City in this house." It's bloody Door City in this
Doesn't
house.
like a draft,
Ridiculous.
does he? Always shut.
Yeah, exactly. Ridiculous. Okay. So, Heretic is a 2024 American psychological horror film written and directed by Scott Beck and Bryan Woods. So, it's Hugh Grant, Sophie Thatcher, and Chloe East, and follows two missionaries of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who attempt to convert a reclusive Englishman, only to realize he is more dangerous than he seems. In terms of IMDb ratings, we're on 7.3 out of 10. That's quite high. 92% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Bloody hell. 77% critic score. Letterbox 3.5 out of 5 and some choice reviews on there. Stacy says Jigsaw if he was an insufferable Reddit atheist. 2.5 stars. Gigi says date idea. You come over and I quiz you on board games, religion, and Radiohead. 4 stars. Silent Dawn says, great example of a movie that starts strong and then consistently becomes a less interesting version of itself with every twist and turn. 2.5 stars. But then Cobb says, if you ever wanted to see Hugh Grant sing Radiohead or do a Jar Jar Binks impression, boy, do I have the movie for you. 5 stars. That's some high praise. I don't even know if it was an accurate Jar Jar Binks impression, was it?
No.
It wasn't, was it?
No.
It was very inaccurate. I was like, hang on a minute. We all know how to do a Jar Jar. It's like, what does he say?
Say it's the people gonna die, is what you
He said
say.
people gonna die. Yeah, something like that. He's a bit. Is he a bit Caribbean?
Or you say, how wooed.
Wooed. He's a bit Jonathan Ross as well.
Yeah. How wooed.
Wooed. Somehow Jar Jar Binks has returned, and I didn't even know if I necessarily got the inclusion of Jar Jar Binks because the way he's talking about things was like, I don't know. I get it. I
It's
get
like a
it, but
little
also,
mythical character, isn't it? Sadly, I saw this one when it came out a couple of weeks ago, so you might have to sharpen me up on some of
yeah,
the
he's going
very,
Jar
very
Jar
specific
Jesus,
points.
basically Jar Jar Binks. I didn't really know all that much about this film apart from obviously I'd seen the trailer. I kind of, it's a bit of like a cat and mouse thriller inside a house, isn't it? But I guess it's not what you would necessarily expect because it's not like, at least initially, this character isn't like a violent threat. He's just sort of like quite strange and off-putting. You're trying to sort of slowly, slowly, slowly just peel back these layers of like what actually is the point of this film, the point of it, the point of it. Um, and I don't know. For me, I don't know if we ever truly got to the core. Talking of Terrace Chocolate Orange cores, to the core, to a core that felt interesting in a way. It kind of just felt, oh, now it's this. Okay, now it's this. I don't know.
Yeah, I went with we'll come to it as we get to the end of the plot, but my friend Connor that I came with said like, oh, actually he might have liked it if it had gone a slightly different direction. It felt it might have paid off differently for him. I
Yeah,
think there's some interesting things to unpack, and we shall
we're
come to it.
obviously going to be spoiling this from the get-go.
Yeah,
So I won't sort of mention what the reveal is. I mean, it's not. This is the thing. It's not much of a reveal. It's not like, oh my God, this film starts this way and then there's a huge reveal. It's kind of like these smaller and smaller reveals throughout, and
yeah,
each reveal kind of allows you to maybe kind of predict what the next one will be, like what the next step will be, what the next step will be. I feel like it needed more of an anchor to it. Like this is the point. This is what this character is trying to achieve.
yeah. And
There was a
that's
line in
left
it.
fairly ambiguous. There's a little bit
There's a
to it.
line in it where someone says, "I feel like you're just making it up as you go along." The word for which is when you make
What
something up as you go along.
ad-libbing? You're
Ad-libbing, yeah, that's it.
improvising.
Improvising. What can I think of that? Thank you, Andy Thesaurus Turner. Um, improvising, and I kind of got that vibe from the film. It felt very improvised. Like if this was a stage show, for example,
Yeah,
and they said, you know what, we set this up, and these two missionaries go to this house of this guy. Um, and it just felt very improvised. It felt like it kind of bounced around ideas very, very quickly. Um, and I don't know. I never truly felt I understood what his end goal was because it's very complicated and
yeah.
complex. You know what I
I
mean?
think
Like,
it has a fundamental point that he is trying to come to, but maybe he doesn't
yeah.
separate himself that much from the religions that he forms against, basically, as we get into. But
But then
we'll
again,
come into it.
we'll come into it. I'm glad it didn't go into in some other areas which felt like it could be a little bit obvious. Especially with the word heretic.
It's the bloody devil, isn't he?
It's the
Isn't he?
bloody devil
He's-
overall. After
um,
all, he's the devil himself.
yeah. I think there's some interesting things that come out of it. What I will say, I think a lot of people are getting a lot of attention for the performances on this one, not just Hugh Grant, who I think is exceptional in it. Because I think he is so consistent. So you mentioned how this, more and more layers come off this.
Mm,
There is no point in this movie, and we'll say one more time, where we will be entering spoiler country shortly. There is no point where a layer falls off Hugh Grant and he's just a
a kook.
violent, yelling, screaming psychopath trying to get them. Things don't unravel and he doesn't change what his characteristics are.
No.
He is as calm and put together and articulate in the end of the film as he is when they open the door and there's no indication that there's anything wrong.
Mm, yeah,
And
yeah.
but the other performances as well, I
I know what
thought
you mean. I
both
kind
of our
of.
female leads, I thought were very strong.
Oh yeah, both of them are great. They were very different. You could have easily gone, oh, we got two Mormon missionaries here, and they could have been quite um one-dimensional. you
I mean,
know.
first bit of trivia for you, Ben. One of the two actresses that was in the lead grew up in the Mormon church.
Wow, okay. I'm assuming Chloe East.
Oh, it's a swing and a miss, Ben. Sophie Thatcher.
Is it?
Yeah.
Ah, swing and a miss. There we go. Um, yeah, because part of me, of the two of them, it was Sophie Thatcher who I kind of thought this one's got a little bit of a past. There's going to be some reveal as time goes on that maybe this person hasn't been entirely honest. And you know what? I don't know. Again, I don't know if we quite got there with that either. Like there were some additional plot points, but were they satisfying enough for me to go, okay? I don't know. I expected maybe a bit more tension between the two leads, with maybe Hugh Grant playing them off against each other
Hmm.
potentially. I expected
Okay.
a little bit of that. Um, but yeah, I know we will get into it. But overall,
Good. So,
obviously,
so
a solid psychological horror with three very very good performances.
yeah. So
Um,
I guess we begin with being introduced to our characters, and I like the conversation, the discussion about it's about advertising to begin with, which is very similar to, as we're revealed that they are um missionaries from the Mormon church, going out
hmm,
doing basically follow-up meetings, right? So basically, if they've met someone who's gone, yeah, come round and so they're not doing door knocks and having to deal with people who aren't necessarily interested in
yeah.
talking to them. They're going to work on a list of people who
Do you
have
fancy
invited
finding
them to
out?
come and have a chat.
You want to find out a little bit about Jesus? And for someone who hadn't gone, no. If someone's gone, oh, I won't mind finding out a bit more about old Mr. J. That's joking.
So they come around, yeah, not that one.
No.
Yeah, so they're doing some follow-ups and seeing what's happening. I think they talk between them. What are their character names? Because I've got their
Sister
so
Barnes. So we've got Sister Barnes, who is played by Sophie Thatcher, and Sister Paxton, who is played by Chloe
yeah, so
East.
Sister Paxton has not really done many conversions, whereas Sister Barnes has been far more successful. She's got a lot more
Yeah, she got like
experience.
nine or something, and I think in terms of conversions, Sister Paxton has got like not even one, right?
Yeah, she hasn't.
Baptisms they call it. I reckon you could do a drive-by baptism to someone. Just go, all right, fancy a bit of
Splash with the
Jesus?
water.
You go, well, I'm not interested. Actually, splash water in your face. There you go, baptism. That counts. That's going in
Yeah,
the book.
yeah. Check that on a little tally mark right next to them. So
Exactly.
they're off there. And it is very much like I think you live certainly in the US or Europe. It can be a familiar scene, right? The Mormon missionaries part of what they go through is they will go on spend some time doing missionary work and seeing if they can help to see if they can get people to join the church. Had many
Yeah.
conversations with Mormon folks out and about in the UK when I've seen them, sometimes at the door.
Yeah.
I am not a very good candidate for religion, Ben. When the Mormons came to my door when I lived at my parents' house, I talked to them about Futurama for 20 minutes, and then they're like, "Oh, anyway, we must get on. Bye."
Wait, did they talk about Futurama? Were you watching Futurama
I
and you
was.
just
They
went,
said, "Oh, what are you doing?" Just watching some Futurama, and then we chatted until it was time for them to go. Um,
I think it's time for
solely
you to go
about
now.
Futurama. The
You want to
Lord
come in
didn't
and
get a
talk about
look in.
Monopoly? Not
Yeah.
interested.
Um, yeah. So they're around there, and then this is your fear from the film, right? They encounter some local yobbos.
Oh no, yeah. Well, you say you get local yobbos. This was unexpected. They see these girls. I think even Sister Paxton compliments him. Goes, "Oh, look at these girls. Love them. Love their style." And these girls walk over and go, "Can we take a photo of you?" And the girls oblige, and they're all nice. And then one of them kegs the other one
Could be
completely.
Daxa.
Daxer. Would you say kegged, dacked, cacked, keg, kecked?
I would say Dact, but
Right. How many do you reckon there are, right? So,
yeah.
pantsing. So, I think pantsing is like the
Pansing's US, right?
pantsing is US, is also known as depantsing, debagging,
Debagged. Debagging. Yeah.
debagging, dacking, flagging, sharking, scanting, the act of pulling down a person's trousers, and sometimes underpants. I feel like going full underpants is out of order, right? I feel like
I
that is
mean,
pure.
the first one's banter, the second one's an assault.
Yeah, no, it is. It is literally. It says usually against their wishes. It's like, well, yeah, like I think almost always against that person's
Yeah, quite
wishes.
often, like, yeah, when I'm going to bed and my arms are tied. Oh, Karen, just Dackers with you so I can go to bed.
Is that true? Is that
No,
true?
never.
I thought you meant it was true. Karen, my arms are absolutely.
Oh,
I've been
I couldn't possibly.
I've been busy going around kegging everyone else, so my arms are well tired.
I couldn't pull another pair of trousers down today if I tried.
Yeah, I know. Kegging. So in England it says kegging. Where have I got kecking from then? Because kecking, I feel like that's what I always said. In another
Because you would
prank,
call trousers kecks, I guess.
yeah,
Right?
I guess you would. So where's keg come from? Because keg's not
They've
a thing.
replaced your trousers with little jars of beer, big barrels,
What's the opposite of kegging someone?
rebagging them.
Well, I guess a wedgie, right?
Yeah,
Is
I guess
that
so.
that's like you've gone from being declothed to being
Having
extremely
to having your
clothed.
trousers on so hard that hurts your bum.
Here's your bum. Jesus. It's just a
So
weird act. Like I can't bring myself to I could like I've kegged people in the past. When I say people, I mean I usually do it to Charlie in a playful, she's in the kitchen.
when her arms are too tired to possibly pull her trousers down any more times for the
When she's
day.
washing up and her hands are covered in suds and there's nothing she can do. Pull someone's trousers down and then stand on them.
I mean, is that pulling someone's trousers down like that? I feel like our generation in particular had the the easy mode of that because we grew up in an era of poppers, mate. Not
Oh
the
God, I
not
thought
the
you meant
recreational drug, the
I thought you meant yeah,
the
recreation.
Adidas trousers.
We grew up in the era of this recreational drug where basically your trousers just fell down themselves after that happened. Yeah, poppers. That was a weird time to be alive because there was no one ever that wore trousers with the poppers undone. Did
No,
you ever see it happen in real life?
I think it does happen. And some people who had very rogue brands, those poppers wouldn't just be, up to your mid thigh. They would go to the top of those trousers. You could completely
It just feels pointless.
just turn
Why
them
even
into
have them?
rags.
Yeah. Do you remember also the era of, and again, this might be specifically a UK thing, with like uh oh, I can't even think of what it's called now. What kind of what's it called when oh you have to make a noise on your shoes or on your bag?
Velcros.
Velcro. God damn it. I'm really struggling with words today, Andy. Velcro, like a Velcro bag strap. Have you
Yep.
ever had that? So
Yep,
someone
a
will walk
Velcro
up to
bag
you
strap.
and they literally just grab the Velcro bag strap and just go and your bag, if it was heavy, would just
School
drop to the
bag full of
ground
bloody textbooks.
full of
Got an
textbooks.
Arkansas in there.
And you might
It's
have
your French book.
a glass bottle of water in there, a bottle of Voss, and it just obliterates. Yeah, it's just a. I feel like it's the ultimate disrespect. I feel like when it happens to someone else, most of your joy that comes from it is thinking, "Thank God that wasn't me," isn't
Yeah.
it? I've
That's
been
because
bloody kegged.
that's because like comprehensive schools in the UK are like the savannah. You'd be very glad if like
Yeah,
if it's another one, it's someone else being torn apart by hyenas. Like it's a dangerous world.
it's a very dangerous world. Very, very dangerous. But yeah, I've you got to feel kind of sorry for um Sister Paxton because she seemed this is the thing. She's a Mormon missionary, but she seems quite open and positive and accepting. She doesn't seem like she's making like there's a few calls in this film where we talk about the Mormon faith and we say like, oh, should this person be have been homophobic or this person been that? But she doesn't seem like that type of person. She seems like a nice, accepting person. So when they keg her and then we see her
Feel embarrassed, right?
feel embarrassed and crying, like it is a bit like, oh, bloody hell.
Yeah,
Oh my
because
God.
that's one thing. I think this is a okay. You're reacting to what happened to her in this film, or have you seen some exciting news?
Just saw the composer of this film. His name's Chris Bacon. What do you reckon his middle name is?
Something that begins with P, Peter.
It's Paul. So Crispy Bacon made the, the thing.
That's gotta be on purpose. His name's gotta be
It has got to be.
Crispy
It says
Bacon.
other names. Crispy Bacon. That's insane.
That's so good.
That's
Brilliant.
ridiculous. He's done the music for loads of stuff, though. Oh yeah, so the director of this film, Scott Beck and Brian Woods, they also directed that film 65, the time travel dino film with Adam Driver in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the film Haunt as well, the 2019 film Haunt. Oh wait, and they okay, they didn't direct The Boogeyman, but they wrote it. So obviously Rob Savage directed it, didn't they? So yeah, they've had their fingers in. Oh, and writers involved for A Quiet Place as well. So they've been involved in mainstream
I
horror and horror adjacent stuff for a
I
while.
was interested in the writing of this film, and I guess we've introduced our characters. We should look at it now. I know this film can be taken in a number of ways. There are some people that will say it is very anti-organized religion and very critical of organized religion, and I can see that. I can see other people with particularly where the film ultimately ends that says actually it's quite a
Pro
pro-faith,
religion.
if not organized religion, then it is pro-faith certainly.
It
Um,
can feel a little bit. I don't know if you agree with this. You may not agree with this. There's a lot of monologuing, a lot of ranting, a lot of sort of hypotheses, in terms of the way religion works. Sometimes it feels like we're listening to this character. Other times it feels like we're listening to this film to the filmmakers. Does that mean that I think that they believe that? Not necessarily, but I think they've developed this sort of narrative that's supposed to kind of throw cold water on sort of organized religion. And me, a person who's not religious in the slightest, just can understand how that must be could be interpreted, I guess.
Yeah, I think it by and large, I think it is overall, and we'll talk about it as we get to those scenes. But I think by and large, it is successful in delivering a fairly nuanced discussion on the some of the fallacies behind religion, things that are
Yeah. I
that
think
that do call into question, they look at the similarities on a theme, the way that religion can sometimes be responsible in its interpretations, particularly in past generations, of things which are not attuned to the morals and ethics that we live by today.
yeah.
Um, I think some of those points can be particularly interesting, and I liked how some
But
of them were delivered.
not
Uh,
just that, I would say also, sorry Andy, didn't mean to
sorry.
interrupt. Also the way that like it's not just religion, it's just, society in general. And then we talk about, how rules were set up and sort of things were agreed upon, and it was clearly just set up to cover one person's infidelities or one
Hmm.
person's crimes or one person's lies, and then they set this up, and now like the world is just does that. Like when they were talking about religion, they were talking about the misogyny of multiple wives and stuff like that, and looking back at it um in the Mormon religion, and basically saying that like one of the founders pretty much just came up with that to cover up his own infidelities. Like I've actually been sleeping around, but I've written it in the religion here. I
Yeah,
have
and
loads of
actually,
wives.
it's all right if that's me.
And
I think that
it just makes
ultimately
me
is
feel like
the.
modern. Sorry, Andy. I was
That's
just gonna
okay.
say it just makes me feel like there are so many things in society that make me feel like that. That make me feel like some dude years and years ago, Declaration of Independence and all that stuff. Like they've just put a rule in because it suits them or suits their nearest and dearest at the time. And now, hundreds of years later, people are still living by those things. Literally, things that have just
Yeah.
plucked out of the air in order to do it. So in that way, I was kind of nodding along, going, you know what, he's making some good points here.
No, I absolutely follow that train of thought, and I think also, not only to cover up the behaviors of some folks, but it does also explore that religion is often quite a fundamental means of control, and over
Mm,
previous generations, and still to this day, why I think it is an important conversation, even in the world we live in now and the political landscape we live in at the moment, that religion as a method of control and control from a moral perspective, showing that this is the right thing to do.
yeah,
Particularly with regards to women, particularly with regards to non-white folk people that were subjected to those methods as control from a religious point of view,
I mean,
certainly in the past as well. I think there's a lot to unpack there, and the character that we see, in Hugh Grant's portrayal of those things. Whether you ultimately believe in all the things that he says or all those other things, he does make some points which attunes and aligns with the lots of critiques of, as I say, not specifically faith and believing that there is something that is bigger or more important than you or whatever it is, but from a concept of the critique of organized religion in particular,
using
there is a
religion
lot to be
as a
said.
using religion as like because religion as an excuse for anything, like obviously we talk about major elections recently and sort of certain areas of the political sphere that ally themselves more with Christianity, basically like saying, oh, from a moral standpoint, we're God-fearing, uh good Christian folk who also believe A, B, and C, and it's almost like these things get attuned to that side of religion for some reason. And then a lot of the time it's like, yeah, but should we just look into the reasons for that? Because religion. And
Yeah.
that's something that Hugh Grant, obviously, his
Yeah, and
character
like
really
I
does.
almost wish, not that your company isn't enough for me, Ben, but I almost wish we had someone who had a little bit more of a background in belief and religion, or was an active member of a church to come and join us for this episode to talk about how
How much
they
they
took on this one and how much they, what their reaction was to hearing
mm,
some of the monologues in particular about bringing these as they
yeah.
explore the
I
themes of the
think
film.
I think he definitely makes some good points, but I feel like in terms of how this relates to his big plan, I'm not entirely convinced. So yeah, as we mentioned, Sister Barnes, Sister Paxton, after the pantsing, they go to the home of Mr. Reed, who was Hugh Grant. So he's a person who's um made a point of, oh yeah, I'd like to find out more about Jesus Christ. This is like a return visit. So Sister Barnes, Sister Paxton arrive just as a storm is happening. They lock their bikes at the front gate, which is key. Go and knock on the door. Hugh Grant takes bloody ages to get
To
to the
get
front
there.
door. Then they like a couple of knocks. And I think initially they're like, "Oh, should we go back to the missionary after this? Is that what they call it, the missionary? Or
Yeah, like it's the church that they're staying at, right? That
yeah,
they're staying while
should we
they're on
go?
this.
Should we go back there after this? Yeah. So this is like the last call of the day. They're kind of done for the day. Um, and how could you describe Mr. Reed? His demeanor is he's a very friendly
It's a
guy.
very affable kind of
Affable,
guy, right?
doesn't seem in any way threatening or strange. He kind of just seems like a nice, kind of like maybe slightly quirky guy. Um, but what he keeps doing is he keeps directing the conversation in very strange ways, by usually just saying, "Well, now I have to ask a really quite a unsavory question," let's say.
Yeah, it's really well done. And obviously he tempts them into the house first. It's good to see them demonstrating safe working practices. They ask if his wife is home. He says yes, because as
At
two
what point?
women out on their own, they
Yeah.
have to have there has to be someone else, a female present for them to be allowed
What did you
into the
think? Did you
house.
think immediately there ain't no wife?
Yeah, immediately.
Immediately. Another thing that's kind of disappointing is that like there literally isn't a moment where you think, oh, he's gonna go get the wife in a minute.
Yeah.
You
In
just
a
think,
standard Hugh Grant film, any other film with Hugh Grant in it, this would be called, if the film was, standard Hugh Grant fare and it was called Romantic Misunderstandings, absolutely his wife would be there and she really would be just taking ages on the pie, and then they would think he was a
taking
wrong un,
ages on the pie.
and then they would think he was a wrong un, and it
Also,
would be all very embarrassing, but it isn't. This is called
I
Heretic and his wife
reckon
was never real.
I could absolutely tell the difference between pie scent and scented candle scent. Could you?
Uh, I, I reckon I could detect something that was coming from a candle.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's pretty much it. It's not even the scent. It's like the direction of where it's coming from. Yeah, that's kind of silly. That
Yeah,
is
I
a bit
can't.
like,
Yeah, I would like if I could smell things from, like, you've got a candle and it starts smelling like pie all of a sudden. I'd assume it's a scented candle, not, oh, I'm Wolverine now and I can smell pie from several rooms over. It's gonna come and like grab me by the nose like a scent and drag me along, floating across.
yeah, exactly. Um, I feel like Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton never really get going in terms of like their sales pitch, like what they really want to say to him. It's pretty much all directed by Mr. Reed from the get-go. Obviously he's trying to bond with them a little bit, asking them questions about their past, where they were from, where they grew up. But the crux of it is he's really trying to get. It's almost like they've come to deliver a sales pitch to him, but he's got a sales pitch that he wants to deliver straight back at them. But he's not doing it in a straightforward way. He's not going, here's what I want to do. He is literally leading them down through this labyrinth of twists and turns, some quite
Yeah.
literal as well.
And he begins with, like you say, like it's a very, oh, I'm not even sure what the terminology is, but it's not gaslighty, but and it's not like, but it is quite a manipulative approach. Like when you say, oh, I'm going to ask a controversial question to, in a way, sort of get their permission to
Yeah,
say something which
it is
is going to be
manipulative.
particularly challenging to
He's
their.
trying to he's trying to twist them in knots, essentially. Like he's not being upfront about anything really, and every single thing he says and does, and every question he asks is like a leading question where he's trying to get these characters to sort of come around to his way of thinking, slowly but surely. Yeah,
Yeah, and there's one, even from his side, and he obviously does it on purpose to drive the point down, but like he makes like a clumsy mistake because he's talking about pie, and then also when asking like an innocuous question about what type of pie do you think it is, then asks how one of the characters' fathers died,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
and but then also stumbles over it or trips over it and like pretends he thinks he was answering one question.
Something
Um,
like blueberry. Yeah.
so what's that? He died of blueberry pie disease. She's like, no, Hodgkin's lymphoma. And he's like, oh, sorry, those things are quite the same, aren't they? Well, not really,
Lou
Mr.
Gehrig's
Reed.
disease.
Lou
That's one, isn't it?
Gehrig.
Yeah, Lou
Oh, and
Gehrig's
it
disease.
sounds like
Sounds
blueberry
like
disease.
blueberry disease. And I go, have a word with yourself. Bloody
Oh, all
hell.
right, cloth ears.
All right, old bloody cloth ears. All right, cloth mannequin ears. For God's sake. Lovely throwback there. Yeah, so he goes, yeah, we're not alone. Wife's preparing a blueberry pie in the back. She's being a bit
She's shy.
shy. He brings him out some lovely mid 2000s era Coca-Cola glasses that you would have got in McDonald's if you
Yeah, 99p.
99p, with a bit of Coke in them. I guess they don't drink it. I guess the cliche obvious thing that you're thinking here is, oh, if they drink it, it's going to be drugged. They're going to wake up in a bloody basement
In a wake up, they've
thing.
been jigsawed. But this isn't his style. He's not a jigsawman.
It's not his style, and I kind of didn't want it to go in this direction. I'm not saying it does go in this direction, but what this is what I didn't want right at this stage. I didn't want. This is what I was thinking in my head. I didn't want a jigsaw scenario, and I also didn't want a Fritzl scenario. That was
Yeah.
what I was thinking.
No Fritzels. I don't want him to be the now reformed, the blind man from Don't Breathe.
I was thinking Don't Breathe because we're talking about moral standpoints on a lot of things. And I know it's not really much about religion, although is he a religious feller? He,
No, I don't know.
no. But yeah, there's a lot of kind of like yeah. There are some similarities. Maybe it's because we're in a small house, a
With loads
small
of
house
doors.
with a man with loads of doors. Um, yeah. Um,
Um, so they do, and like again, there's this. They never feel particularly safe because I think it becomes fairly obvious, and it's a bit of a speak no evil situation. I think when
mm,
they already start to feel a bit threatened, but they never want to say something to feel like they are being unreasonable
yeah.
or
Everyone's being
something
ever
along
so
those
polite,
lines.
aren't they? And I
Everyone's
guess
been ever so polite, and I think they don't believe his wife is there from fairly early on. They
yeah.
don't want to drink the drinks he's given them because they can't trust that there's nothing wrong with them.
Mm.
Um, they when he then goes through and says, "Oh yeah, sure, you
Well, when
come
he
through to the other
initially
room."
says, "Come in," do you mind the metal in the walls? Nah, it's all right. That's
Yeah,
you can't just brush over that. You go, "Do you mind the metal in the walls?" What do you mean by that? Like, obviously, it's revealed what that means in a little while, even though I guess it does make sense. Um, so yeah, like well, pretty much when he walks away, there is the first moment of dishonesty that we see is that she turns around the candle and it's a blueberry pie candle. So, he's gone to he's gone to the trouble of setting that up so that it sort of backs up his lie, I guess. Although I don't think it would work. I would go, that's a blueberry pie candle there. It's lovely. Isn't that a coincidence? I'd go, that's a coincidence. She's also baking a blueberry pie down there. I wouldn't go, oh, bloody hell, he's trying to assault me nasal senses.
He's trying to trick me, thinking
He's
there's
trying to
actually
confuse me
pie.
here. A bloody bastard.
I
Yeah.
wonder if he'd actually, if he'd only been able to get a different uh Yankee candle, he would have had to have like completely abandoned it being any type of pie.
Yeah.
Oh, my wife, she's just mulling some wine in the
She's
next
just
room.
mulling some wine over there. Yeah, making a gingerbread house over there.
Yeah, oh, what's that? Oh yeah, she's Christmas is coming. She's just making some pine wreaths.
I'm like, why does it smell so strong in this room of of that? Um,
Oh yeah, my wife, she's just domestos in the kitchen. That's why everything smells of lemon.
she's just domestos in the kitchen. Dangerous, that is. Make sure you wear a face mask. Um,
Um, so yeah, they found that and they have to follow him through because it's never just a straight road. Like just they have to go through a creepy room where someone's
oh,
left a mannequin with coats on it
can
to
you
look
go
like a
through this?
terrifying silhouette.
Can you go through this completely pitch black room where there's a shadow standing in the corner, and then you won't notice it's not a man until you get really close to it? Yeah. So pretty much they get to this point where they're like definitely ready to leave. They're like he's creeped
But the
us out
door's
enough,
locked.
but the door is locked. Um, and I think they try and make a phone call and they can't get through. And then there's like a weird little window with a butterfly on it from the outside. Can you fit through that? It's just like, all right, bloody hell.
Absolutely not. I can tell
Absolutely
you
not.
without. So you're thinner than me. Yeah, but I'm not. I'm not a mouse.
I'm not a tiny little
I'm not a
baby.
mouse that can collapse my rib cage small enough that I can fit through a biro. That's not going to happen.
Through a biro. It's basically the size of a fucking biro. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So then they basically go, well, we've got no choice now. We have to
So we're just going to
commit.
go and we'll just ask him to let us out, and we'll ask for our coat. And they also know that he took their coats, so they need to go and get their coats back anyway. They can't just biro themselves out through there, even if they could. They have to.
Just biro themselves out. Yeah. So they go into the study, which is, I think, if you saw the trailer, this was like where most of the trailer took place. Oh yeah. Also, lights are on a timer. They sort of go off after a certain amount of time, and then he does also explain that the doors are on a timer, and the front door, the deadbolts are on a timer. Does he really explain why?
No, he just says, "Oh, they just are got a weird house, so the only way through out
Oh,
into my house
right.
is out through one of these two doors."
Oh, for God's sake, just be like, this is what I kept wanting. Like, someone has to say, just answer a question normally, straightforward. Don't go, "Well," he's like a politician, this guy. He's
Yeah.
like a politician, just cannot give any sort of straight answer. Well, did you do this? Well, it's not a case of
Oh yeah, they said
did
like,
or
"Is your wife
do.
there?" And he says, "Look, I'll tell you what, let's do this. Did you ever believe my wife? Do you believe that my wife is in this other room?" No,
Yeah.
no.
So, yeah. So what he does, he writes, I know this isn't quite yet, but he writes belief on one door and disbelief in the other. And basically, he is now going to give them what you could only describe as a
Mr. Reed's
lecture,
TED talk
a
on
lecture slash TED talk. Have you ever given a TED talk? That's my favorite. That's the best way. If someone's telling you a boring story, Andy, the best way to shut it down immediately is go, have you ever thought of giving a TED talk? And then, I mean, it's out of order. Firstly, I would never do it to someone I love and respect.
I tell you what, mate, if someone's that are fucking withered.
Withered to death. So it's kind of like a lecture slash TED talk slash threatening, a bit condescending, isn't it? Because like they're religious, and essentially what he's saying is, you're both religious, but I'll put this to you: you're only religious because of the environment you've grown up
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
All religions are essentially adaptations of one another that all link to the same
yeah. And they point
fallacy.
out like, and he points out the three. He says, "Look, here's your big three. You've got
The
the
big three, like
Bible, the big three, like
Judaism,
Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. It's
Batman,
like
Superman, and woman.
no Wonder Woman. I just said it
You know,
quickly.
no, sorry. Now I'm being pedantic. Now
Yeah,
I've let
listen, Mr. Reed.
listen,
Uh,
Mr. Reeve. Sorry about
listen.
that.
Yeah, so yeah, he's pointed out that basically there is the Bible, which is your that's your Macca's. You've got the Quran, which is Burger King.
Oh yeah, well they do a fast food like tier list at one point as well, don't they? What's your
Yeah.
favorite fast food?
Oh, you
Don't
said
know.
yeah.
Burger King is better than In and Out, is better than Wendy's, is better than
So yeah, he gives
whatever.
those examples. There's Judaism, there's Christianity, and there's Islam. And then he points out that there are others that come and go, but those are your big three. And then he points out that obviously the Mormon Church is a spin-off of Christianity, and then he does this comparison to Monopoly. You know what? Well researched. That is a true story. The landlord's game and then anti-Monopoly,
Oh,
which was a socialist game, existed first before Monopoly was then co-opted by someone else who resold it as Monopoly, and then he then compares those other
you would, wouldn't
bits.
you? You'd be absolutely fuming.
You'd be raging. So he does that, and then he also mentions about there being copies of copies, and this is where we get to the fundamental parts of the religious story, and he points out that things that were from the Bible are very similar to things in religions that far predate Christianity. He points out that, and then he also gives an example of there being copies of copies of copies, which is how he eventually gets to his point on that there is a fundamental truth that they don't know, and that he, having researched religion for a long time, has found and would be happy to
He's
show
been
them.
doing this for bloody ages then. This is what I felt like at this point. Oh, he's been getting missionaries in and just like trying
He's
to.
got a cellar full of harridans, hasn't he?
No, I
He's
know that, but like at this point I didn't realize. But that's the thing. It did go a bit fritzel and that's annoying. But so obviously the point he makes here,
annoying.
it's annoying, isn't it? Because it's just a bit obvious. Because obviously Don't Breathe was a bit fritzel and it was giving me those vibes in a way. So obviously he talks about the Radiohead song so he starts playing the Hollies song "The Air That I Breathe," and says basically like Radiohead was a cover of it plagiarized that, and then Lana Del Rey in turn was done for plagiarizing it for her song "Get Free."
Yeah,
I don't hear
and then Radiohead sued her
"The
apparently.
Air That I Breathe." I don't necessarily hear "Creep." Do you hear it?
When he played it, but only after he'd made the suggestion that had a similar
No,
bass
I don't
line.
know what it is. I don't really quite get it. I don't know if it's the same chords or what, but I wouldn't say the melody is all that much similar. Apparently, what Lana Del Rey says was, "My song wasn't inspired by Creep, but Radiohead feel it was, and want 100% of the publishing. I offered up to 40 ways over the last few months, but they only accept 100%." Wow, that's crazy, isn't it? Like you just think we've been done for a song. I guess what happened was the Hollies took them for 100%. So now they've literally gone have this Hollies
Yeah, I mean,
somehow.
it happens, doesn't it? You know that the center of the universe that binds us all together, that is Sting and the Police.
Yeah.
They sued Diddy for 100% of the every breath you take.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. So
Rep.
that meant
Obviously,
every
there's worse things he's done. So
like what? Yeah. But no, I knew that they had to yeah, he had to pay them a certain amount every day,
hundred
wouldn't it?
percent, 100% of the 100% of the royalties again.
Imagine doing that though, like literally cover because that's like a cover slash sample, isn't it? That's not copying it. It's just the same. It's the
It's just,
same. Um, but yeah, obviously I think there was one recently, wasn't there, with Ed Sheeran getting sued for something.
yeah, and then didn't he then? I'm not sure if his case wasn't one. I'd have to look that up. But then he said, right from now on, I'm recording every single one of our recording studio sessions.
Yeah, bloody hell. I kind of get it. I get where he's going with this. Hugh Grant, not Hugh Grant, Mr. Reed. It feels a bit like I don't know. I I I don't know. I wasn't fully convinced. It was a bit wishy-washy for my liking. Did you feel like it was like
Well,
bang?
I think she even points out because it is delivered like it is a Mike Flanagan Midnight Mass, one of those wonderful one of those wonderfully delivered like monologues where it's like, oh, the scales have fallen from your eyes and it's all very clear. But then,
Yeah.
as Sophie Thatcher's character, Victor said, like, oh, I think she describes it as like, year what, like freshman or like sophomore philosophy class
Yeah.
levels of like takedown
Yeah,
of
what was it?
organized
Pop
religion.
pop culture philosophy, pop quiz philosophy. Like I know it's religion, but yeah, it feels a bit like that. You know, when people go, when someone starts harping on and they start going, all the bloody pyramids were made by the Illuminati, and actually, I think it was aliens. Like, I get it. I get what it's absolutely fine to cast some level of disbelief in the area of all these things. But when sometimes you've heard a million things before, and you're just like, okay, but that's the obvious turn of phrase, isn't it? And like, I guess like with when it comes to religion, just saying, oh, religion is just copied over and over again. Like we've heard that before. It wasn't like brand new information. But obviously, I guess Mormon missionaries are more like to be like, no, how dare you?
Yeah, yeah. I
And he
think
goes,
that's the reaction he's kind of looking for. But of course, at this point, they're
yeah,
quite scared. And whereas
quite
Mr.
scared.
Reed really calls him out on it, and she says, "No, I believe in my religion. I'm going down the
Mm.
belief door." Whereas Paxton is a little bit more shaken and is thinking,
Jeremy Paxton.
"Well, yeah, Jerry Paxton."
Paxton is like still being polite and still kind of like being a bit like, oh,
I think
thank you for your hospitality and all that stuff.
she's also
Whereas,
very afraid, and she also
yeah,
thinks like, "What?" And I think she's thinking, "How do we get out of this situation?" So she even says, what you want us to do is say that we don't believe. She takes it that what he wants to do is for them to say, yeah, you're very clever and
yeah,
religion is nonsense. So we'll just leave down the don't believe door if that is the door that is safe. Like if
yeah,
this is like she is obviously mistaken him for a jigsaw as well and thinking there's a good door and a bad door and one way
mm,
is going to get us out safely and the other one's going to be full of bees. So I'm going to go down the door that you want us to go down. But he
mm,
points out that isn't how it works. I want you to just make a choice. Either way you're safe. He keeps reassuring them that they're going to be safe and they're not
yeah.
in danger from him.
I feel like, yeah, it definitely just feels like no matter what happens, what he has got planned, the wheels are already in motion. I feel like whichever door they choose is essentially there's not really a way out for them at this point, is there?
No, they have to go past him and down into the depths of this next room. There are a couple of items that they get for their inventories before
Again,
they go down.
this does feel real, real survival horror, even a bit like Resident Evil Village in a way, especially with like
Yeah,
some of the scary characters we see down there. Just, doors that are, like how Resident Evil houses are like. Who would build a house like this where you need all these mechanisms and this
keys
has
and
to happen and
mechanisms and so on. Yeah.
keys and puzzles and stuff, but like this feels like it's straight out of that. Um, he never really goes into the reason why his house is the way it is, but it's obviously because it's a Fritzl scenario where where
Just a
someone's
rare
going to escape,
find.
and it's like Bloody Barbarian all over again, where you're like, how have you got this house? And then there's at least 900 times more real estate just
Underground.
underground. It's like unbelievable. Um,
Um, yeah, so they just before they go down there though, they do collect a couple of little items. They get a cutty knife, and later they
yeah, cutty
it,
stabby knife.
yeah, they get like a little
And
cutty knife and say,
and
right,
she
we're going to be
says,
using
and
this.
Barnes says to Paxton, if you get the chance, stab him in the neck. There's also another weird bit, and now I may have not followed this correctly, so I'm sure we'll pick it apart. When the fire reacts a little bit differently to Sister Barnes, it does to Sister Paxton.
I think that's a bit of the signs a bit later on. So this is down. So they get into the basement. They've got the cutty knife and they have got their coats back with the keys to the bike. Although they have been thrown further on their guard by the fact that the the bike lock keys have been swapped. They're now in someone. They're
Mm.
now
Yeah, that's true.
they were in one of the sisters' pockets and now they're in the other. So he's clearly been at their bikes and their bike locks.
Have you been at my bikes? You've been at my bikes and you put the bloody key back in the wrong way. But put the key back that way on purpose or just accidentally?
Wait, I don't know. I don't know.
Don't know.
And this, I think this could come to it later. Whereas, is there, and this is why I think that there is an element of this which pushes for certainly a message of faith, because there are certain things which you know, by pure coincidence happen to have gone the right way because it was in Sister Barnes's jacket. Now it's in Sister Paxton's jacket, and we'll find out why that's important a bit later. But they go down. What happens is Mr. Reed comes on the radio and says, "Oh, I'm going to show you an actual miracle. This old crone's going to come in a minute. She's going to eat this pie and she's going to
And it
eat
happens to be a
shit."
blueberry pie as well. Like
So
that's
there
a
really was. So that must mean there
thematic
was a
thing.
blueberry pie baking.
There was one somewhere, horribly. He didn't even need the thing. So this
Sarah
woman,
Lee
this old
baked
crone,
Super
looks
Lee, Sarah Lee one in the
Sarah
microwave a couple of
Lee. You
minutes.
eaten my Sarah Lee? This old crone's eating my Sarah Lee. How rude. Um,
Equals pequals. That's
equals. A decrepit woman appears. It says, eats a poison pie, dies, and basically Reed says,
Doys.
dies,
Just yeah.
dies. She's bloody dead. Reed says she's a prophet of God, not a prophet of rage. That's a band. And the pair will witness her resurrection. Oh yeah. But while this is happening, there are a couple of scenes where we see Mr. Topher Grace, Eddie Brock himself, Venom himself.
Is it Topher Grace?
Yes, it is. It is Topher Grace, Andy.
Bloody
He is
hell.
like the elder, I guess, the elder Mormon, and we see him like realizing they haven't come back. Then he goes to a couple of other houses looking for them, and then he's finally approaching um,
Yeah,
Mr.
he's
Reed's house.
basically gone round their rounds,
And
right?
what has she got? What have they got? They've got a bloody Buffalo Bill type when the doorbell rings, a bloody massive horrible alarm rings further down.
Yeah.
I was
Like
like,
he
oh,
like
for
all these
God's
alarms
sake.
start going off like oh
Awooga.
like someone
Um,
said the secret word on a Saturday morning television
and no
program.
wonder it takes Billy Hugh Grant so long to get up there. Oh, sorry, I was just in the kitchen. No, you weren't. You were down in your bloody horrible Fritzl basement doing horrible things. Um,
Misting those old ladies that you've got. But
so
so he
their attention's taken at this point. They run up back up to the door and they're like trying to
try and
get to
pinch some
some like trying to
matches.
pinch some matches that are like on a rug, trying to pull them in. This would be a quick time event in a game, wouldn't it? You'd have to like slowly,
And
slowly,
he'd come
slowly.
into the room, you'd have to wait till he wasn't looking. You have like his code of vision.
Yeah. And the tension here is supposed to be, the elder is a bit like, oh, I don't know if I quite believe you. And he's like, no, I haven't seen them. But you did want to find out more information about Jesus. Well, yeah, I did. But, and then he goes away. And then there's a bit of tension because he comes back and we think, oh, is he? We're thinking, because we think the bikes are still there, don't we?
Hang on a bit, mate. What about these bikes here? But
Hang on a
no, he
minute, what
just
about these
goes,
bikes? But no, he comes back and says, have you had a look at this pamphlet? I'd be like, Topher Grace, you useless twat.
yeah,
Disgrace. You're a
you've blown it,
disgrace,
mate.
Topher Grace.
Um, so that's what happens, and then they go back down with the match. And this is what you were saying about the fire reacts differently. The matches keep going out because they're trying to set a fire, so the smoke will go up this up the chimney, and it will alert him to the fact that they're under the ground. Um,
Literally, right? Can you imagine this? Right, just imagine this for a second. You're an elder of a Mormon missionary. You
yeah.
go around to a man's house to look for these girls. While you're talking to him, even though it's a storm and there's wind and rain and everything, you notice a bit of smoke coming out of I don't know, something. You just go, oh, he's got a fire on or something. Not for a second, you go,
Well,
kidnap these
see you
girls.
later. Yeah, see you later.
It's such a like I get it. I get it, but it's just all a bit mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a
Yeah,
bit of a
it's
mad
all a
one.
bit mad,
But
mate. Yeah.
so the things keep going off, and then basically while they're doing that, then the crone, resurrected to life as promised,
Poor old crone.
appears behind them and goes, "Oh, bloody hell! I saw white light, all these other things, blah 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 blah." And then she says one more thing. She says it's not real, and then drops down dead.
Drops down
No, drops down
dead.
dead. She doesn't drop down dead. She's fine. Mr. Reed comes
He
down and
just
goes, "You
ushers
must be
her
ever
off.
so tired."
Just ushers her off back to like, I
Yeah.
don't know,
There's
a
another
different
pie
room.
upstairs. This one ain't poisoned. Enjoy.
Yeah. And do you know what? I'm a bit like what? I know we find out more, but like, what is he trying to prove here? Because he's just spent a whole time basically just like discounting all religion. All religion's the same, blah 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 blah. But now suddenly his thing is, I'm actually going to tell you that there is a true religion that I've seen, which is, and I know
Well,
there's more of a reveal, and it's not like a supernatural thing, and it's not like an actual holy thing, but I don't know.
yeah,
Did
this is
I
where it
felt
may
like
be losing me a tiny, tiny bit because I
so
think it goes from
lost
uh
lost me here, but I feel like it lost me completely when he started talking about the world being a bloody simulation, right?
That was it. I was like, all right, Elon,
Because
mate,
that
take your
did
red pill
feel
and fuck
all
off.
right, all right, Elon. I see what you're doing here, Elon. Right? Okay,
Oh,
you've
is it
lured me in.
oh, right. Yeah, The Matrix was a good film. I
You've
get it, mate.
lured me in with memes, thinking you're funny when you're not funny. You've created a Department of Government something. You call it Doge. All right, you're a laugh, are you? And then when all my all my bloody defenses are down, is when you start going to me. The world's a bloody the world's a bloody simulation. I was going out with Grimes for a while. We called our kid bloody Pythagoras' theorem or something, and the world's a simulation. You fucking idiot. That is a contraceptive implant, you donut. You virgin. He's definitely a virgin. Oh,
Yeah.
Mr. Reed. Sorry. I've gone forward a bit.
Yeah,
Let's
so
back up.
he comes down and he talks at this point. Yeah, having given this at times quite articulate and reasonably well thought out critique on organized religions and the way they've cribbed from each other from a written perspective. He then comes down and starts talking about how he just showed them a miracle. He showed someone resurrected. They've described the what that looked like.
Yeah.
Um, Sister Barnes at this point has already stated, look,
But would
if I
you?
say magic pants, stab him in the neck. But
Oh yeah,
also,
magic pants. Yeah.
if I say magic pants, stab him in the neck. But also,
If he says magic
we
pants,
we
stab him
need
in
to
the neck.
start like we need to challenge him. If he comes up on we are no physical threat to him, but what we are, we can challenge him um theologically. So
Because
if he
also, right,
says that we don't agree with, we need to call him out
if
on it.
I witnessed that and they said, "Eat this pie," and it's full of like belladonna and wolfsbane or something, and then someone died and came back to life, I wouldn't think it's a miracle. I'd be like, "Oh, you've put something in that pie that's like
Or that pie's not poison.
you put something in that pie that's like slowed the person's heart rate down, made it look like they died. That's forever in pop culture. We've seen that in loads of stuff. Breaking
Yeah,
Bad, I
yeah,
think.
I do, Ben, in that situation, and get that pie on my hands. They're poisoned hands. Try to get your fingers in their mouth.
I've got poison damage on my hands.
Get your fingers, get your fingers in their eyes and put your fingers up their nose. Yeah. Oh, get some poison up you, mate.
Wolfsbane,
Yeah.
not the
Poison
Wolfsbane.
damage hands +1.
+1. Oh, I reckon +5 at least. Old pies worth.
I reckon there'd be anywhere between, especially as it's the first bit. If it's only a bit of poison pie crust on your hands, so it's not going to be like you're a venomous viper. I reckon you're going to get like a 10 to 20% chance that on each punch you're going to give them poison damage that will continue to damage them for the next 5 to 8 seconds.
Ugh, 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 ugh,
Yeah.
ugh. It'll damage you a bit as well.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, it'll damage you a bit
Unfortunately,
for
yeah.
having it on your hands.
Probably lower my constitution. So
Bloody
yeah,
hell.
that's they don't do that. They challenge him on that, and then um they're about to say the magic words about magic pants, but Hugh Grant is onto them and he slits the throat of Sister
Yeah.
Barnes.
He slits the throat. I mean, it's out of order, really, and it's not very nice. I was hoping that like acts of violence. I don't know. I felt like it was an obvious route to now take it. Oh, he's committed an act of violence against them because I wanted. I don't know, I've mentioned it already, but I wanted him to like maybe turn them against each other. And like you've got one who's got some secrets. He starts revealing the secrets. That makes the one who feels like she's really dedicated to being a Mormon missionary start to doubt her sister. Then he
Hmm.
like gives them a choice, basically like the choice is
One of you can
only
escape,
one of
or
you can
yeah,
escape. And then it looks like they're on each other's side, but suddenly she slits her throat. Oh my God, what a shocking moment. He's even shocked, maybe I don't know.
but
It
yeah,
just felt
what
like
we
in
got
that
is
moment I was a bit like, why has he done that then?
well, he Ken takes her out. And this is when he's really cracked and goes into the theory. So, oh, look, we'll see her resurrect him, and you'll see a wonderful miracle. Because oh, hang on, she hasn't come back because she's got this bloody microchip in her arm.
I mean, at this point, it's literally like it's like, all right, boomer, like what on earth are you doing? She's got a bloody microchip in her arm. She's a bloody simulation. Hang on a minute,
That's
you're
that
talking.
COVID vaccine for you. 5G's
You're
been installed on her.
she's got 5G. The chemtrails have done it to her. It's just, I'm like, I'd be like, sorry, Mr. Reed. A minute ago, you were talking about no, there being no religion. Now you're telling us there's a true religion, and now you're saying that the world's a bloody simulation and that Barnes was not real because she's got a bloody thing in her arm. And then obviously Paxton says, I think it's a contraceptive implant, but he's like, well, why would she have the implant if she's a missionary? He's like, well, I don't know. Who
Yeah,
cares? Her decision. Shut up, you idiot.
yeah, and he does try and like take it on there, and Sister Paxton says like the church doesn't look too fondly on it.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, she knows what it is, and then this is when she channeled. Oh, I forgot to say, Ben, it's very important that when they first went down into the basement, this film is all about testing people's faith, right?
Hmm.
And the belief and the challenge. And we've done enough of these films that there are a few things that I'm not a religious person. I'm not a person of faith myself. There are one or two things I do have faith in though, and one of them is the writing contrivances as handed out by our old mate Chekhov. And we
Oh
do
no,
get
not bloody Chekhov.
Chekhov's bit of wood with some spikes in it
Oh yeah,
pulled
yeah, no, I did
down,
enjoy that.
and
I
they put
did
it on the
enjoy that.
side. Just go, this bit of wood with spikes in it. I'll just put that over here.
We got to remember that, yeah. Can't just pick it up out of nowhere.
Put that there, said right. And my faith was challenged on this one because there was a moment in this one I was thinking, that's not coming back. Don't worry,
The
everybody.
spikes
Your
of wood are
faith will be
calm.
rewarded.
Oh yeah, Chekhov's
But
got us
yeah,
covered.
this is also where Sister Paxton, confronted with increasingly unhinged theories on microchips in the arms and things
Absolutely
like that,
unhinged at this point, yeah.
she goes full Hercule Poirot and does a nice bit of j'accuse on Mr. Reed and points out that this miracle, when the lady was talking to us, she said it's not real. I don't think you scripted that. And then she accused him, you're ad-libbing and making this up. She said something you didn't plan. It's thing. And he goes, well, if that's the case, then there would be another way out of this room then. If I really did, while you were distracted by the me ringing the door, by going to answer the door and trying to get the things, if I really did chuck
This
that body out and then bring another similar looking woman
It's
out
such
here,
an elaborate scheme, isn't
then
it? It's
there'd be
such
another way
an
out of this room,
elaborate
wouldn't there?
scheme. Let
Yeah.
these people in your house, then when they're talking or having go round, hide their bikes, then set this thing up with like the bodies and just like it's such an elaborate scheme. And I just feel like even if you are the most, you know, Reddit, what was it described like Reddit poster like
Like
just
awful Reddit atheists, yeah.
conspiracy theorist Fritzelman. Like it's a lot of effort to go to just to essentially like do essentially the end goal is kidnap people, right?
Yeah.
Kidnap people and keep them in cages and cold, um, and that's it. Because I'm assuming that everybody else that he'd kidnapped, these elders, this old crone, had basically been the same as them
For
at
a
one
period of
point.
time, they've been keeping them there for a while, I
All these
imagine.
bloody Mormon missionaries keep going missing after they go to see Mr. Reed. What do you reckon that's about? I just reckon it's a coincidence.
Yeah.
Just a silly coincidence. I mean, I'm guessing from different churches, aren't they? So
Yeah. So, that's what happens. You basically say, well, if that's true, then there'd be another way out of this room. And she goes, what, like this way out of this room? When she immediately finds a trapdoor.
there's a
Um,
trapdoor, and
and she
it's weird,
goes
isn't it? Because
down.
like, even though he is a violent threat now, because he literally sliced one of their throats, he does kind of like just let it play out and just watch in a way. And she
Yeah.
doesn't seem to, well, she is afraid of him, obviously, but she doesn't seem like she thinks he's gonna.
Immediately slash her throat.
It feels like he's a little bit like fascinated by watching her
Unpick the mystery, right? And then
unpick the
coming to the
silly
end.
old mystery. Because he just thinks he's smart. He thinks he's way smarter than he is, and he feels like this mystery that he's put together is a super super smart
Yeah,
one.
and
But
to be fair,
he ain't got.
the people that he has, and we'll find them just now, obviously have to be complicit with him to some degree because they
Yeah,
have to
because he says
perform these things,
he's
right?
keeping them pretty much starved, doesn't he? Like he's keeping them basically really
Yeah,
hungry
when you're
like the
that
whole
starved,
time.
even a poisonous pie, you're gonna dig right in.
Even a poisonous pie gonna get right involved.
So yeah, she goes down, and then I think this is an element which could lean into the presence of faith that comes into the film because she finds the final door basically between that and her salvation is locked with their D lock from the bike, and now she has the key in her possession and
Yeah, whether
uses it to
that's
open the door,
on purpose or not, accidental, I don't know.
and then goes through to a greenhouse full of skeleton women.
A greenhouse full of skeleton women. This is just like door after door after door, and I was kind of glad to see a bloody wall, to be fair. But yeah, a greenhouse full of women, and again, mentioned in Resident Evil Village, they looked a little bit like those crones in the sort of basement area of the village when they're like got like hoods up and
They're
almost
locked
like
up in cages. They've got water from like little hamster bottles. It's horrible.
it is horrible. Yeah, and again, like even if you were agreeing with some points that Reed was making on religion, like you very, very quickly, and again, this feels realistic when it comes to people like this, people who are so willing to enforce their opinion on you based on, no, you got to look a little bit deeper, you got to do your own research, you got to do these things. The amount of people who start saying things like this, and you go, well, I never really thought of it like that. That kind of makes sense, and they'll immediately ruin it by just going down, taking you in
Simulation, it. It's
down the
just
rabbit hole. It's a simulation. It's all that. And you know what? I'm not the most closed-minded person in the world. I think, there are a lot of things on surface level, probably slightly different, a little bit deeper. But the film, I felt like this character made me feel like how I feel when I witness certain people's ranting and downfalls on social media. When you're just like,
yeah,
oh, and he even says it about drinking the Kool-Aid, which I was like, okay,
yeah.
okay,
And
I get it.
that's ultimately what he's going for because he points out here that the fundamental truth of all religions is that they are about control, which is a fair enough point to make in a lot of situations. And but effectively, what he's done is he has taken these women, and even though he treats them incredibly poorly, because of their faith and because of what he has shown them, because of their belief in what he has shown them as the number one true religion, they to a degree put up with it, and
I'll be
they
over
are
that. I'll be over
imprisoned
that
by
after a
him.
while. I'll see bloody 10 miracles, but I'm freezing. I'm starving. I've had enough. I've had a go.
I'd have a far lower bar than that. I'd be like, I'm just it's boring.
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen a miracle, have I? Oh, I don't care, for God's sake.
Yeah, so but he's got these women there, and he's keeping them here, and he's like chopping one of their nails with some secateurs,
Oh
and
yeah,
he
he does
points
that.
out that basically, again, that all of these aspects have led her to this place to witness this thing, and Sister Paxton points out as well. So basically, you've engineered this to lead me here in the hope I will have some kind of religious epiphany as well.
Hmm.
And she doesn't want a bead of it, and she
Just
runs.
doesn't want a beat of it. Just obsessive people having religious epiphanies, and yeah, it is boring.
Yeah,
Even if I had a real religious epiphany, I reckon I'd be over it within a couple of days.
and he's pointing that out, and then she said, "Well, there is something that I have," and I think the message they share here is, well, it has been fundamentally proven that praying for people makes no difference, and I think this is, despite not being a person who follows a religion, I think what they look at there is a more positive and nice message, and say, no, it doesn't do things like praying for people doesn't magically heal them,
Don't bloody
but it's a
do
nice
anything,
thing that
does
we
it?
can do. It's a
And
nice way that we can show we're
yeah,
thinking about
he says
people.
like there was this test that like 100 people got prayed for and 100 people didn't, and it didn't mean a thing, but it's just a nice thing to do that makes people feel a bit better. And you know what? I'm not a religious person, but I think if people want to navigate the terrors and shit show of life with a little bit of religion to help them get through the day, as long as they're not hurting anybody, as long as they're not telling people what they can do with their bodies and telling people, to live a certain way. If people want a bit of faith, that's absolutely fine. I've got no problem
Yeah,
with that. It doesn't really
absolutely.
work. Doesn't really work for me. For me, I've got far more things where I go, do you know what? Life's all right. When I'm lying in bed watching a when I'm
Watching a
lying in bed
7 hour horror
watching a
documentary.
7 hour horror documentary, drinking a lovely can of ice cold Dr. Pepper with Dennis sat on my lap and I'm stroking his ears and he's fast asleep and
You
snoring.
think,
That is
you
when I
think,
go, you
think,
know
thanks,
what?
Lord.
Thanks, Lord. I'll have a bit of this. Everything
Yeah,
else.
I think that's one of the things. And then she points out like it's coming all together. And she says, "Look, you've tried to lead me here so that I will have this, this religious epiphany that you're hoping for as a way for you to exert control over me. But actually, I think that I do want to stick with my faith. It does make me feel better, and it's meant a lot to me, and it means a lot to other people. So this is what I'm going for. Plus, by the way, guess what kind of underwear Paul Daniels wears?" The answer to that is magic pants That is the code word. She didn't need to say it, but because she could have
Yeah.
just known to stab him.
Paul
But when
Daniels.
saying it, she shanks him in the neck and then runs for
Yeah,
it.
what is this knife? It's like a weird sort of what kind
It's
of
like a
knife is it?
craft knife. I think he was using it to like carve his models with.
For some reason I was like, is that a like from like the thing where you stick it in to check the temperature, like the chicken and
Oh, like
stuff?
a meat thermometer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Uh,
like it's just Mr. Cutty
the
knife. So
neck's well up.
they've got a knife. She stabs him in the neck, an injury that clearly, without medical attention, he'll die from. But then run around. She is kind of trapped in a maze. The rooms are very circular, and she finds herself back at the bottom of the trapdoor again, where she
Caught
is
in a
then
trap.
stabbed in the right in the Gulliver
Oh yeah.
by
Out of
him.
order, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So she's been injured. They're both lying there bleeding out on the. Oh no, they're not. Mr. Reed is going to get her, but then my faith is finally rewarded and restored, briefly restored to life. Um, Sister Barnes is there. Um, the power of Chekhov compels them, and she bashes him in the head with the spiked bit of wood.
Chekhov's bloody spike. Got bloody spiked.
Yeah, he gets
Um,
pierced with a spike, and
pierced with a
then
spike, and then does it. Yeah, what was he trying to do to her before he got pierced
he
with a
was
spike?
strangling her, right?
Was he strangling her? Yeah, he
He'd
was
already
strangling her.
stabbed her in the
I thought he was
tummy, and
just coming in for a cuddle,
then he
but
was
it was
strangling
a
her.
strangle.
She
Um,
bashes him on the head, and then he seems to like all of a sudden have this moment of panic where like he is dying,
and he goes,
and
"There ain't nothing. There ain't
yeah,
nothing here. There ain't no true religion,
and
and it's not a
he
simulation. I'm not
yeah,
waking up in the Matrix.
fuck's sake, come on.
Come
You
on."
think if it was a simulation, the computers would let you simulate this absolute bullshit theory that
Yeah, I do
based
think
on a
that sometimes.
film that it would have had to simulate came out.
It's a bullshit theory. It is. I feel like it just, I don't know. It needed to be a bit more streamlined, a bit more simple. Um, and, I just feel like his end goal was a little bit muddled. I didn't quite understand, being a Fritzl, but also being like an atheist, but also a religious nut at the same time. It was like that sort of weird
Yeah.
juxtaposition, wasn't it? It was like he was an atheist slash, yeah.
Slash had a true religion that he was following. Like I think there's some merits there, but then we finish with the final scene. Sister Paxton passes out for a while and then manages to get up and leave the house. She runs out. The deadlock has now passed its morning time and the door is unlocked, so she's able to leave anyway. And she runs out into the forest, in which at which time a butterfly flies towards her, which is what she had said earlier to Sister Barnes,
Oh,
that if
yeah.
she died, that is what she would come back as, and she would lie on people's fingers. But it doesn't end quite so neatly as the signs. The filmmakers here clearly wanted some ambiguity. So as the butterfly flies over towards her hand, as in her description that she gave earlier, she looks around and it's just disappeared. And then she's on her own again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the end
Interesting.
of Heretic. Interesting.
It's the end of Heretic. Interesting. Interesting is the word, yeah. Have you got any
Got some name game for you
before
if
we
you
rate the
like.
film, do you fancy a little bit of the old name game? Yeah, you do.
Yeah, do you have the synopsis for us?
Synopsis is two young religious women are drawn into a game of cat and mouse in the house of a strange man.
Okay. So two two women on a missionary operation in ancient Greece are fooled by the Queen of the Gods.
Uh Queen of the Gods.
Yeah, the
Is it
vindictive
vindictive?
wife of Zeus, who is very jealous of something they've been up to. Maybe Zeus fancies them, so she decides to get them and
I'm
put, pull,
thinking
pulls a ruse on them. Hercules is more herself.
I was gonna say Athena, but it's not that, is it? Is it just it's just what's her name? It's Hera, isn't it?
Yeah,
Hera
it's
Tick.
it's a Hera trick.
Oh,
She's
Hera
fooling them.
Trick. Hera
Yeah,
Tick. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. Um that's I've added something to mine now after that.
go on then.
Uh two young religious women are drawn into a game of uh not quite cat and mouse, more like uh pole cat and mouse.
Okay,
Pole cat and mouse. Um that's it.
is it? Ferret trick.
Ferret tick.
Ferretic.
Ferret tick. Yeah.
Ferretic.
There we go. I was trying to
Um,
work out the best way to work that out for you.
in this one, two young religious women on mission from their church, um, come to the aid of a very hirsute man, called Richard.
Heretic.
Hairy Dick. Very good.
Harry Dick. Oh, Harry
Yeah.
Dick. Poor old Dick. He's been here. Okay. Two young religious women are drawn into a game of cat and mouse in the house of a strange man who's also the front man of Rolling Stones.
Heramic.
Heramic.
I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna say it was the one where the lead singer of Simply Red goes for a game of
Oh
football.
yeah, that's also good.
Somebody
Heramic.
get to Mick.
Somebody get to Mick. He goes,
Here's one
It's all
for
just a bloody load of shit, innit? It's all a load of bollocks. We're living a simulation, aren't we?
if it was Mick Hucknall.
And if it was Mick
Um,
Hucknall, I go, Schmickle. No, that's John Lennon. No way. Mick
is the other
Hucknall.
one for you then?
Lovely chin.
Um, two women who are on a mission from their local church go to see Mr. Reed, and actually he's no threat to them at all because he's right poorly.
Heresick.
I was going to say very sick, very sick,
Verisick.
very ever
It's because
very.
he's sick. Because imagine coming near him with the vaccine. He'd be absolutely.
Oh
He'd
yeah, you
be.
don't want those
He'd go,
microchips
get
in him.
off. We live in a simulation. All vaccines are built on a pyramid of pharmaceutical evil. Get off me. Ah!
That's what he'd say.
My body,
Um,
my choice. He would say.
yeah, that's
The
what he'd say.
bastard. The bloody
Piece of shit, yeah.
stupid.
I've got one left. I don't know if you've got any more.
Have I got any more? No. Yeah, you go on. You go on.
So a pair of young women on a mission from their church go and see a man, but actually their patience runs out with him because they've taken round a box of celebrations, and rather than just taking one that comes out, he's bloody gone in there and taken all the Maltesers out. And they said, "You can't do this."
You're a twat.
No, what are they
You're
telling him he's not allowed to do?
not allowed to take the chocolate. Wait, what's he done?
He's not just taking a chocolate, though, is he? He's choosing exactly the one that he wants. He doesn't care that he's going to just leave bounties and that at the end.
He's doing a pick, Hera pick.
He's a cherry. He's cherry
Oh,
picking.
he's cherry picking. Oh God. I'll
He's
tell you
cherry
what, though.
pick.
I'll
Very
tell you what.
good.
I don't know about you, but I do that, don't you?
I mean, I'm not in a bounty for loving the money, mate. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I'd eat a bounty. I got no problem
I'll
with it.
save you
It's not
mine
my
this Christmas
go-to.
then. Post them over.
It's not my number one, but post them over. Oh, what a
Post,
letter from Andy. What
post,
could it possibly be?
post you a bag of bounties in the new year.
Only bag of bounties. I would, but if I'm eating a bag of a box of celebrations, it gets to a point where I can see there's a little bit of we're leaning in a lot of different ones are getting left. I'll start to even them out. You know,
Yeah,
I've
you
got to
got to
even them out.
balance them out. Yeah,
I can't just leave like all the
you've got to
same ones
restore balance to the rainforest,
because
to the
that's filthy.
celebrations box.
Yeah, you
What
do.
would you say is a worse sin, Ben? Cherry picking from a box of chocolates,
Yeah.
a selection box of chocolates, or leaving the sleeve of After Eights in the oblong?
I don't partake in after eights enough to be annoyed by that. But I can see how it would be a faux pas. I can see how you'd be like, "Who's left the bloody sea?" Because it's the same as like leaving a can of Pringles or a can of Kingles
We're
in
just we're just dust at the
we're
bottom.
just dusting it. You reach for it, and then when you grab it, you realize that's light as a feather. Who has put that back with the dust in it? And someone goes, "Well, some people like the dust." Yeah, but people don't like the dust on its own. They like the dust as
Af-
a
After you've
final
had the last couple of
after you've had
crisps.
the last couple of crisps. Pringles are bloody
Oh,
weird anyway, aren't they?
absolute criminals. Well, I tell you what, though, Ben, we're fast approaching Twiglet season, and I can't wait.
Oh, dude. Twiglet season, cheeselet season, or treeslets season.
Treeslets, absolutely.
What a time to be alive. I won't
Is
lie
that
to
your
you.
faith? Big off.
Yeah,
God
I love
bless
the cheese.
Twiglet season.
I do love Twiglets, but I also love cheeselets. I won't lie. I reckon as early as September, I managed to find a can of cheeselets,
Yeah.
and Charlie was rude. Literally September, mine. Charlie went save them until Christmas. I went, fuck you.
I'll call this wedding off.
I'll call this wedding off. Yeah, exactly. Save them
I'm
till
eating these in
Christmas.
the car
Where are you going
on
to
the
put them? Oh,
way.
I'll hide them. What, in my house? I'll find them. Like, where are they going to be? Do you know what I mean?
I when I
Like,
went to the US a little while ago, like Karen said, "Oh, like I said, I'm gonna get you a little treat and I'm gonna hide it. And if there's any day that you're like bored and having a real shitter, then you can look for it and tell you,
oh,
I'm gonna
yeah.
find it. I'm
I
gonna
suppose
find
that's
it.
pretty, I suppose
Couldn't
that's
find the
pretty good, yeah.
Marses that I hid inside the metal kettle that we sometimes put on the hob, but only when we're using loose leaf
Oh, the
tea.
metal
That's at the
kettle.
top of a cabinet,
Oh,
underneath the little filter, so you don't get leaves in the water. Never gonna find it. I showed it to her in the end.
you should have turned the end.
I told her she's like, I'm gonna need that chocolate. I take it back that I'm gonna be able to find it, and I said, I'll tell you where it is. Yeah. So that's it. All we've got to do, Ben. All that remains is for us to rate the film.
Yeah. You know what? After talking about it, I've gone from being like pretty lukewarm on it to kind of not really liking it much at all.
I think it's been a rare occasion. Maybe it is I'm just very tired because I've got like
Yeah,
proper like
maybe.
Limmy bin
I
woken
don't
up
know.
face today.
I feel like yeah, it was good performances. I feel like in terms of like a very nice tight knit thriller with some nice twists and stuff, it just wasn't there. It just didn't. It wasn't there. I felt like it was a shot in the dark. It was fumbling around in the dark. I have to make two of those very similar analogies, but I just felt like it never quite latched on to what I feel like it wanted it to be. It needed something more to it. It needed a bigger, better twist. And I don't mean like oh, I can't believe it. I just mean like something where you're like, oh, this is what he's trying to do.
That's
I
what he's
get
up
it.
to.
The fact that
Um,
it just went to being a Fritzl when I kind of that was me when I was planning out in my head. I thought, I hope it's not that. And also, I liked the fact that he wasn't much of a physical threat. I didn't want him to commit any acts of violence against these two people, and the fact that he committed acts of violence against both of them disappointed me in a way. I was a
yeah,
bit like,
I can see that. You might have like he could have been all about trying to manipulate them into doing things. And I mentioned my friend Connor, and he actually felt that like they could have swapped, and they could a couple of films we've seen this year, they could have even swapped and had Longlegs had a more grounded situation, and then Mr. Reed could have just been, oh, Reed is short for Beelzebub. I am the actual devil,
I
and
am
I'm
the
just
devil. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, if it went in that direction, would I have hated it? I don't. I mean, depends how it was worked out, I guess. But the fact that he went from being like an atheist or uh, a religious skeptic to kind of then being like, oh, actually, I actually love religion, but the true religion, which is control, and I've got a load of slaves in some cages, and I don't know. I feel like if he was genuinely trying to get these two people who believed in something to genuinely start to start to to doubt their own beliefs in some way in the ultimate manipulation, that would have been far more interesting, but it never quite got there. I feel like I might have to go as low as C minus because I was kind of hyped for this based on a lot of the reviews that have been coming out, and also, um, I think I saw a few videos of people saying it's the best horror of the year. I don't know. I mean, just looking at it straight up as a horror, like there's not really even that much there that really affects me in that way. But yeah, I don't know. Are you agreeing with me on that? Are you
if you
elsewhere?
can hear me, Ben, I am agreeing with you. I think I've had a
Oh
religious
no.
experience of my own where basically all of my hardware just failed at the time.
Oh no.
I could
You
see you articulating your point of view, but my
I
camera
can
went
hear
off. I appear to have been slurped off into oblivion right now. I've been raptured.
you. You've been
Um,
bloody raptured. I can only see your background, but you know.
yeah, you can see my background. I'm assuming it's because my camera has changed to the one that my actual camera is sitting in front of. As long as you can hear me again now. Ah,
You're
I've
back.
reappeared. I'm
You
back in the
reappeared.
land of the living. For those watching the video, that was wonderful. So yeah, much like, well, unlike the characters in this film, I wasn't a big trick. I had just been taken off to the afterlife and returned. But yeah, I couldn't hear you, Ben, but I did hear you land on a C minus.
C minus is, I think, what I'm going to go for. Yes.
So a C minus. I think I might be ever so slightly higher, but not by much. I think I'm going to go for a C overall. And
Mm.
this is one of the experience we have about talking to it. Maybe it's because a couple of weeks have passed, because I would have come out of that film a couple of weeks ago and maybe gone for the low Bs, like a B minus, because I think there was a lot of I think the performances were really strong. There was a great consistency to the performances and so on that I really liked. But a couple of weeks and then a conversation with you about it, and it's gone that direction where I maybe come down a bit. So
Oh
a
yeah,
C
sorry
for
about that.
me. That's all right. I think an interesting discussion. If you love those Mike Flanagan films and those, that sometimes that really tightly scripted, psychological, um, exploration or the deep discussion of a theme, I
Mhm.
think there's some interesting things here. Um,
Yeah.
it began to unravel a little bit in the back end for me. You know, like I said, I'm no either defender or condemner of people having their own proclivities when it comes to
A thousand blossoms bloom.
yeah, as far as I'm concerned. But I ain't spending any more time on, you know, theories that the whole world might just be a simulation. I think that is where it began to unravel for me, and his character
Well,
maybe
yeah, because it was out
unraveled
of
a little bit
nowhere.
for
It
me.
wasn't like he just was saying that the whole time, and then he suddenly went, "See, she's a simulation. She's this." Yeah. Wasn't entirely convinced by
Yeah, that
any
bit
of
maybe didn't
the narrative.
necessarily sit right with me. I would have almost preferred him to keep the overall religious doctrine piece. But there's still some interesting things about it. I still liked a lot about it, but maybe just a one and done for a watch for me. I think an interesting watch, but maybe won't be hitting the all-timer shelf.
Yeah, no, definitely not the all-timer
Yeah,
shelf.
but
God
really good
damn.
performances. I will take
Oh
like
yeah,
every single person in the film did a great job.
definitely. Okay, there we go. That was Heretic. Thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the show, I mean, tell us what you thought of Heretic as well. We'd like to know because I think it has got a lot of fans out there, so we'd be interested to find out why you liked it. So if you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to all of our patrons over there. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show, and thanks to our new network, Rusty Quill. Very
Yeah.
exciting stuff. We haven't discussed that officially on the show, but maybe we should set aside some time for that. Check out our
Yeah,
socials if
we'll
you can
talk a little
find it
bit
on our.
more about it. I want to dive into some of
Yeah,
their other podcasts on the network as well, so I can talk about what our new brothers and sisters are like.
yeah. But go and check out our socials to see a little bit more information on the post. It's in relation to Hawk and Cleaver, obviously the umbrella that we come under as a podcast, and that they've joined the Rusty Core network. So yeah, find out some more information about that. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. And I guess we've mentioned old Musk once before on this, and we've discussed the fact about coming off Twitter. Don't know if we're going to come off yet, but we'll try and get ourselves have a little bit more presence on Threads or something like that, so that if you are coming off of Twitter for whatever reason, you'll still be able to keep up with us and our news on there. And
I
of,
have,
of
mate. I've done
course,
it. I've
you've done it. I
yeah,
mean,
I've
I
done
kind of
it.
mean Horror Hangout in general,
Yeah.
the actual page. But Andy's gone. You'll never find him. He's vanished into the ether on there. Who can blame him? It's horrorhangout.co.uk where all of our links are as well. Next week we're discussing a Millennial Nasty Wolf Creek with author Ariel Power Shaub. Did an interview of her about her book Millennial Nasties a little while ago. And yeah, so looking forward to that next week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to some Wolf Creek, and I'm
Mm,
looking forward
see you in a
talking
while.
to you about it, Ben.
Hell yeah, definitely.
In the
Okay.
meantime,
In the
don't eat any
meantime,
poison pies. Why don't, if you could?
don't eat any poison pies. Don't listen to Radiohead. I mean, do listen to Radiohead.
Do
It's
that,
pretty
they're all
good.
right. Yeah.
All right. Don't listen to Lana Del Rey's Get Free. Also a pretty good song. Do what you want.
But
Um,
Radiohead will get all the money if you do.
yeah. And if somebody tries to tell you that they're living in a simulation, so in order to make the point proved, eat a
Leave their
poison pie,
social network immediately.
leave a social network immediately. Add enough, for God's sake. But yeah, until next time.
Yeah, love you. Bye.
See you later. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.